All right, what is good, ladies and gentlemen? It is the Match Reviewer back again with another review, and today we are doing a review for Ninjago Season 2, Legacy of the Green Ninja. That is what this season is called. And yeah, it's been a bit since we've done a recording. I think the last one was about a week ago by now, which was for Peaky Blinders when I had midterms, and so right in sort of like around a week ago, I had like a bit of time where I was able to finish Peaky Blinders, and then I had like a night that I was able to get some recordings out, which I did. But since then, I had been pretty busy with my midterms. But luckily, I'm not mostly done. I still have like 3 more tests I have to do, and I still have like I think I might have to do some makeup tests because of reasons. But anyway, we are finally gonna have some time now to get back to some binges. So I have managed to finish rewatching Ninjago Season 2, and my roommate actually he has like a different schedule than me, so he's not going to be here. He has a test today. I don't have a test today, but he left to go take a test, and so I actually have the dorm to myself for today, tomorrow, and the day after. So I actually have this place 3 days, which will allow me to get recordings out, which is going to be great. So I am hoping that today I'm going to get a video out. And I think I'll have time to actually, I think I might end up, I think I'll have the time to be able to binge season 3, of Ninjago, and so hopefully we will get that one out as well. And, so yeah, right now I'm mainly just I'm trying to get to a point where it's like I'm not focusing on, like in the past during this channel, I did focus on like multiple kind of projects, you could say, at once, where it's like I'd be watching multiple shows, multiple animes, rewatching a bunch of stuff. And I noticed that it's probably best to just focus on one thing at a time mainly. So I'm trying to get to a point where I'm kind of just focusing on one project at a time, because it just actually helps the projects go by faster, instead of just doing like 5 projects at once and then all of them kind of take longer to get out, but they all end up coming out like in a sporadic time frame. So anyway, with all that preamble out of the way, we are just going to get into it. This is Ninjago Season 2. So, yeah, this is a rewatch for me. So we will start out with the intro. The intro I don't give a score to, but I am just going to basically mention the intro because I like the intro for this one. This is basically just the intro of the first season of Ninjago. However, this one, I do appreciate that in Season 2, they do update the intros, I'm pretty sure, when certain events happen. At least they did it in this case, because you have halfway through the spoilers ahead for anyone that doesn't want to get spoiled for the show if they haven't seen it and they are planning to. So I would recommend it. So you have halfway through the season, you have Lloyd, who ages up. He ends up getting there's the whole episode with the Grundle, and then Garmadon ends up turning the ninja young, and so it wasn't Misako, I don't think Misako was with them at the time, but Wu and Nia, they end up getting a potion that is able to reverse the effects of Garmadon's mega weapon and age up the ninja, and so from there, Lloyd ends up becoming older, because they need him to be not of age, but they need him to be older in order for the final battle to kind of be more realistic, because it would be much more unbelievable for Lloyd to be fighting I guess they decided it would be unrealistic for Lloyd to be fighting the Overlord as still a child. So technically, I always forget about this, but technically, like, Lloyd in the final fight here, he's still technically like 10 years old. And when you watch the later seasons, he's actually a lot younger than he appears to look. And I did read something, it did say so because of the position that he's in, he kind of like mentally matured faster. But I always do forget, like, technically you see him and I'm pretty sure he's like in his 20s, but realistically he's probably like there's a chance that I might be older than him, because I'm pretty sure he ages like 5 years. So when he's in his 20s, realistically he might be like 15 or 16, something like that. So, but anyway, I'm getting completely off topic. The intro, I like the intro for the season. It's basically the same as season 1, except they do have different gi the ninja wear, which, by the way, I love the gi in this season. I am excited for when I finally finish reviewing all the seasons. I'm going to do a bunch of rankings. One of them is going to be a ranking for the different gi that the ninja wear, because I'm pretty sure there's like no bad ones, and so I'm very excited to compare all the gis that they have. And this season was a great one, where they have the gi that the ninja get in the Temple of Light. Even before that, you have the gis that they wear, and then like the first half of the season before they end up getting to the Temple Light. I think they look great, and so but yeah, you do have halfway through the season when Lloyd ends up getting older, they do change him in the intro where he is older. So I'm spending a lot of time talking about the intro. It's a good intro. Anyway, we are going to move on, starting off with the plot. So the plot of season 2 is that basically you have the first half, which is kind of like a filler half of the season, where it's not really too much focused on plot. It's just kind of Garmadon at the end of season 1, I'm pretty sure it was. Season 1 ends with Garbodon, he has all the golden weapons that he used to defeat the Great Devourer, and then from there, he uses, at the start of Season 2, he combines all the weapons into a Mega Weapon. And so he has this Mega Weapon that has the power of creation, and so he uses this, he uses the Mega Weapon in order to create things that he hopefully tries to use to defeat the ninja. And in every attempt, it fails to do so. I do actually, on rewatch, I do think they are pretty creative, honestly, with what they go for. I really like the time travel episode. I will say, I'm going to say this now probably. I'll just get this out of the way. The worst thing, in my opinion, about this season, and I am noticing it kind of more on rewatch, this is a very random show, and it feels like a lot of stuff is not really thought out too much, or just a lot of things are just brought out of nowhere. Like, for one, the whole the Great Devourer's I guess blood or whatever it was, the goo from the Great Devourer. The Great Devourer, like, Garmadon ends up defeating the Great Devourer. Basically, it explodes, and then there's like all the venom or whatever it is that is all around Ninjago. So only by now, like only halfway through the season, does it actually seep into the ground, which awakens the Stone Army, which just feels like a bit a random point for it to happen. There's other cases I can mention where here, even at I just watched like a few, it was like less than half an hour ago, I rewatched the final episode. You have the Golden Mech. I'm even looking at it now. I'm looking at the Wikipedia poster in order to see the, I'm looking at the Wikipedia poster to see the character names and stuff, and it shows like a poster of Season 2, and I might even use this poster on screen for the, you might see it here actually, it's in the thumbnail as well as like you might see it here on screen, but the Golden Mech that Lloyd has, it gets defeated instantly. Like, they end up getting this golden weapon, and then this golden mech, and then they use it to fly to, Lloyd uses it to fly to Ninjago City, but then immediately, like, it just gets destroyed, and I'm thinking, this is the mech of the first Spinjitzu master. You would think that it would last a bit longer, but it doesn't, whatever. Like, there's a lot of instances like that where there's just, like, decisions where it feels like the writing was just a bit, not sloppy, but just a bit like, you know, not very the most developed and stuff. There's another scene where it's like the ninja, they're being chased, when they actually first find the Golden Temple, they're being chased by the Stone Army, and then they reach the top of the Golden Temple, and then up until that point, the Stone Army, they were right on their tail, but then when they reach the Golden Temple, they look back, they see the Stone Army, but then for some reason, it's like they're not hot on the pursuit anymore. It's like even though they're like less than, I would say, 20 I don't know, meters or yards away from, I don't know, I think those are basically the same, but so yeah, there's a lot of like writing stuff that I could point to that just feels a bit like not as clean as from what I remember when I was a kid. But so that's the worst thing in my opinion. I will also mention this, I do think that Garmadon is a bit not as good this season as he was in the first season, because in the first season, he felt like a threat. Like in the pilot, as well as all of season 1, he felt like a genuine threat. And in this season, the first half, like the filler half, he feels very much, like each episode is basically him coming up with a way to defeat the ninja, but then him getting defeated. And I feel like there was a few times this season where Garbodon basically says, like, curse you, ninja. And it just feels like I don't know, he doesn't feel as menacing as he did in the previous season. And then you get into the second half, and he basically just becomes the puppet of the Overlord. And I get, like, the point is that he's not actually evil. He doesn't want to be doing the evil stuff. He's just in this position because he was bitten by the Great Devourer, who was controlled by the Overlord, so he basically is the puppet of the Overlord, and so he's not actually evil. But they did a much better job in portraying his character as, like, menacing in the first season, where now it just kind of feels a bit lacking, I guess, compared to what it was previously. But anyway, so that's not the worst thing. The worst thing I am going to say is just like the kind of random moments in just the writing. It doesn't feel as clean as I remember it being. Even so, it's not like bad or anything. Like, it doesn't really ruin the experience. Like, it does, it brings it down a bit, but not too much. Where it's like, I'm just going to give it a 5 for the worst thing. The writing is not as good as I remembered it being from when I was a kid. So, but anyway, the plot of the actual show. Where you have the first half is filler. There are great episodes. I like them a lot. Once again, the time travel episode is actually one of my favorite in the season. As well as that, you have some other episodes like the doppelganger, like the duplicate ninjas. I thought that was a pretty fun one. I think they're decently creative with like you have the mega weapon. I think honestly they could have had some more potential. It's only like, I think 5 episodes where you actually have the mega weapon, where there's the pirates, there's the ninja copycats, there is the Back in Time one, there's the Grundle, and then there is the one where I thought this was very lazy, where Garmadon. Here's another instance: Garmadon in the race episode where Garmadon is racing the ninja. you have this one shot of Garmadon just speeding into Ninjago City, looking like he's about to win the race, and then it's like they do the, I guess this is just the incorrect timing trope that I've mentioned in the past I don't really appreciate, so they had that as well. So yeah, and then in that episode his wish was basically he wants to create something that the ninja cannot get past, and they get past it anyway. So overall, I would say the first half of the season I didn't really like as much as the second half. I did appreciate the second half more when you actually get more into the plot stuff. And I would say that this is not really I think the show like progressively gets better. So I will say this, it's better than season 1, I'll say, but I do think that it's still like far from its prime, I would say. It is good. I would say it's better than season 1 in the pilot. When you get into the second half, I do think that the plot developments and stuff and all the like the whole they really hype it up, like the battle between Lloyd and the Overlord. And I think the actual battle when you have Garmadon in his metamorphosis form when he's not the dragon yet, I think that battle is pretty good, pretty cool. I liked it. But then this is another thing when you get to the final battle when Lloyd actually confronts him, all of a sudden he just turns into the Golden Ninja, and it's like there's not really a plan for like why he should now be able to defeat him or whatever, but he just manages to like just for whatever reason he just defeats him, the Overlord. So it's just like small stuff like that where I guess as a child it's like I didn't really think too much about it, but then kind of analyzing it more now when I'm older, it does just feel a bit not as clean as I remember the story being. But anyway, still I would give the plot probably, I would say I'll give it like a 7. I'm going to go with a 7.5. I'm going to say the plot is I'm just going to give this 7. I would say it's pretty good. There's some more episodes like when they meet Zane's father. I thought that was a good episode. There is when they're traveling in the sea, it's actually pretty fun. I like that stuff. And so overall, I'm going to say that the plot of the season was honestly, maybe I'm being a bit generous. I'm going to honestly, my expectations going into it were, I guess, higher than I remembered it being. So I'm going to give it lower than that. I'm going to actually just give the plot like I'll go with 6.5. I'm going to say it was good, but definitely not as good as I remembered it being. So in terms of the characters, well, you have the main 4 ninja. Once again, you have Kai, Jay, Cole, Zane, still great as usual. They have a lot, honestly, there's a lot more like references than I remember being in the show, and the lines of the characters are really good, honestly. Like I do enjoy like the dialogue of the show much more when I'm watching it like on rewatch. So props to the writers, I guess, for the dialogue. Lloyd, he is good as well. He does age up, and so he is now no longer a child, which I do like him more when he's older. Like as a child, he does come off as like a bit bratty and annoying, and once again, he does kind of age mature. Because of the position he's in and all the responsibility he has, it does cause him to age mentally as well, so he doesn't become as annoying as he becomes like wiser as the show goes on, which I do appreciate. So Wu is good in this. You have Misako's introduced, who I think is nice addition. Don't really care for too much. You have Julian, Dr. Julian, who built Zane, who I thought he was good, but it does feel like he is a bit shafted after he's introduced. Like they just kind of have him along for the ride, and then I think in season 3, he's not even in the show anymore. I think they mentioned somewhere that he ends up like passing away. So I mentioned already that Garmadon, it does feel a bit like he is not as good as he was in the last season. I think the Overlord is pretty intimidating when he actually becomes like when you have the Garmadon / Overlord fusion before the dragon form, and then the actual dragon Overlord form does feel pretty menacing, which I like. I do like the voice of the Overlord. It is pretty good. I like the voice choice that they use for it. Props to Scott McNeil, who voices the Overlord and the dragon Overlord. So look at the Wikipedia page, it has all the characters and the voice actors. So shout out to all the voice actors, and rest in peace to Kirby Moore, because he did sadly pass away. I do remember, that was a sad day when he passed away. That was Cole is one of the best characters in the show. And yeah, rest in peace, Kirby Moore. Anyway, you have also Nia. She is in this as well. Is there anyone else that I did not mention that I should have mentioned? Of the Stone Army. I do think you also have the Serpentine, and I like I think the Serpentine are more unique than the Stone Army. The Stone Army feel a bit more generic, but I do think that the Stone Army do pose a bigger threat than the Serpentine. So I do appreciate that we have like a bit more of a menacing villain type now, instead of just the Serpentine. Like up until now, we had the Serpentine and the skeletons, and all of them up until this point, they felt like kind of goofy. And so to have like a threat that's actually feels a bit like difficult to defeat and challenging, it does feel like a nice change of pace, I would say. So any other characters? Yeah, they do introduce Captain Soda, which I do like. He shows up in later seasons, which is pretty cool. General Kuzo, he is good. I guess he's like the only stone warrior that can talk. Anyone else? Let's see here. Okay, so for some reason, I guess Lloyd Garmadon in his older form is listed as a supporting character, and I guess the young Lloyd Garmadon is listed as the he's listed as the main character. So yeah, that's just something to point out, I guess. Yeah, so overall, I'm gonna give the characters I'll give the characters like a 7. I'll give it a 7.5. I'll say that they are very good. I enjoy the characters, definitely. And yeah, in terms of these settings, you do have the Dark Island, which is pretty cool. I like it. It's not one of my favorite settings in the show, but I still think it is definitely a nice change of pace. Up until now, we've only been in Ninjago City. Besides that, we haven't only been in Ninjago. There's been a lot of areas that were shown. The Dark Island, it's pretty good. Not really one of the best in the, like, there's definitely some more interesting locations that they go to in later seasons, but, you know, it works. The first half of the season it takes place a lot in Ninjago City, which, once again, it's fine. I don't really have too many thoughts. I'll say that the settings, I'll go decent. I'll say 5.5, like, nothing amazing, but, you know, it works for what it is. In terms of the art style, yeah, the art style, like, once you get to season 1, honestly, the art style doesn't really change too much until, I think when you get to season 7, the contrast looks a lot different, and then when you get to season 8, that's when they actually do the whole art style change of the show. So, but until this point, the art style, it is, I would say, probably, you know, it's good, I guess. 6.5, I'll say. I don't remember what I rated in the last review, but I will say that it is, you know, it's a good art style. It's Lego. This is the art style that Lego shows are use, and it works, I'll say. So now in terms of the action, they do get the elemental blades in this season, which I did think were very cool. Those are some of my favorite weapons in the entire series. I think that the elemental blades is really cool because it's like up until this point, this is before the ninjas actually get their elemental powers, where it's like they can use their elemental abilities, and that happens in the next season where they actually get their elemental powers. So up until this point, they had their golden weapons, which is how they would channel their elemental powers, but this is like actual blades that they're able to just fire off their elemental abilities, which I did like the golden weapons, but I do like the design of the elemental blades that they have here. I think it's like very clean. I do like the designs of them. So, and the action, it's cool. It's good, cool action, I would say. You have the Stone Army Warriors, which once again, I said they do pose a threat, which I do appreciate. You have the Overlord, who, once again, the battle with Lloyd in the final episode, not the final episode, it was the second to last episode. I think that was great. And overall, I would say the action is, you know, it's not as good as like, you know, again, you get to later seasons and then there's some more, great. We're still at like kind of the stages where it's not, it's like still in terms of action, we're not at like the more interesting stuff, I would say. Like in the later seasons, you have the Tournament of Elements where you get a lot more creative with elements. You have the ghost fights in season 5, season 7, where you have the time manipulations and stuff. Like, there's more interesting stuff in terms of the action, I feel like, in the later seasons. So for now, we're still, like, kind of with basic, just, like, you know, spinjitzu fighting styles and stuff, and, like, the bare elemental powers that they have. So it all works. It's all good. I would say, like, probably I would give it, like, I'll go a 6 out of 10. I'll say it's, like, above average. It definitely gets better, I would say, but, yeah, I'm going to say a 6 out of 10. I already said the worst thing was like just the writing, the poor writing decisions. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say like, oh, it's just, I remembered it being better. Like, I'm watching it now and I am noticing like a lot worse writing choice. I've been like, I don't know, just a bit lazy here and there. Like you can skip back all the stuff I mentioned before about like certain things. Like here, another thing, I'll mention another one right now. They get defeated by the Overlord in the final episode. They're stuck on the Dark Island. They don't know how to get back. All of a sudden, Zane, he gets his falcon. His falcon comes out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden from that, they're like, okay, we need to go to the Light Temple. And then from there, they enter the Light Temple. And then they figure out, they look around in the Light Temple and they themselves find that they're able to plug in the elemental swords in order to to get the golden mech to appear. And I'm not even going to get into like how is it possible that the golden mech is able to, like, who designed all this and stuff, because I could say that about a lot of things in the show, and that's not really worth critiquing in my opinion. It's like suspension of disbelief. So but just like they randomly, it feels like some stuff, it becomes just a bit too lazy with the writing, where just solutions just sometimes come out of nowhere. As well as like you do have in the final, in the actual confrontation, just Lloyd, he confronts the Overlord in his dragon form, and then nothing really changed up until this point. From like, it's been less than a day, I'm pretty sure, since they actually confronted the Overlord in the previous episode, and so I don't really know what changes between then and now. I don't know, maybe Lloyd just has like more confidence or something, but all of a sudden he just manages to gain the power of the Golden Ninja, and then he becomes the Golden Ninja and stuff. And it's cool, it's a cool scene, don't get me wrong, like I love the scene, it's a fantastic scene. But I do still think it's just another example of like some writing choices which I didn't really, like I just didn't find that great. So, but so once again, I'm gonna say a 5. It doesn't ruin the show, but honestly, it's like more like a 4.5 to a 5. It's between like, it's like not good or bad, more so leaning on the bad side. But I am being generous. I'm just gonna give it a 5. So, and then finally, the best thing. I'm going to say that the best thing is what is the best thing in my opinion? I'm not really sure. You might have heard, like, I was critiquing a lot of stuff in the second half of the season, but I do think that the second half is still, like, some of the best that we've seen so far, because it is actually focusing. I'll say this. Here, you know what I'll say the best thing about this is the lore expansion. I really think that Ninjago, the best thing about the show overall, like, in terms of, from my experience of the first time I watched it, I love the expansive lore of this show. It is so great what they do with the lore. I think the lore is, like, wonderful. The writing, I guess, is a different story. Like in as you've heard from my critiques of the season, the writing can be like a bit lazy at times. But I think the lore overall and this world that they create, I think it is great. And honestly, I'm gonna give it the lore like I'm gonna go like I guess at this point it's like we're not at the very extensive. I'm gonna give the lore like an 8 out of 10. I'll say. Honestly, an 8, and I do also really like the time travel. Another thing I like, not just the lore is great. I also like when they do callbacks, which they do a lot in later seasons, which is also good. I love when they mention something from a previous season, and so if you're like a fan and you've been watching for a long time, it's like, hey, you know that thing from the previous season. So I do appreciate how, I'm sure like there are people that have watched the show and have started from season 1. Like I'm sure not everyone has seen the pilot episodes. So I do really like on rewatch especially, I really like the time travel episode where they just go back in time to the pilot and they're really creative with it. And it's like I really like how they really just go all in with the time travel episode. So I also, that episode I would probably give like around I would say honestly I would give that episode like an 8.5 maybe even. So you know what, I'm gonna give it to the time travel episode. I think that was probably my favorite episode of the season, and I do like it a bit more than the lore up until this point, I guess, which I would give an 8. So I'm going to give an 8.5 to the time travel episode. I thought it was amazing. And so we are another example of like the poor writing. Jay out of nowhere, he has all the golden weapons. He just like he was off screen for like 5 minutes, and he went to I guess he would have gone to the floating ruins, where you get the golden nunchucks. He would have gone to the chasms of despair. I think that's what it was, to get the golden scythe. And he would have gone to the ice temple to get the ice shuriken. So he went to he got all 3 golden weapons in the span of like 5 minutes off screen. So yeah, that's just another example of just the crap writing. And I think they did mention somewhere, the writers, they did say like about the time travel episode specifically, you're not really supposed to think about how it works. And I was actually also like, I wasn't really from what I remembered, I didn't have any problems with it really, continuity-wise. But then rewatching it and then kind of realizing like, hey, this really doesn't make a lot of sense. Like they go back in time, but then it's like they go back when they get back to the present, Lloyd is still grown up. He doesn't know about the mega weapon. So that alone, it's like he grew older, and so I guess maybe he like forgot that he grew older, but like the fact that he is still old now, when his getting old was caused by something that it was caused by having to defeat the Grundle, which was because of the mega weapon. It's like there's some continuity issues that you could speak about that once again I find not as good on rewatch, which is the worst thing in my opinion I mentioned about the season. But even so, other than that, ignoring all the, like the continuity issues and just the lazy writing, I guess, it is still enjoyable, I would say. So, but yeah, that is all the scores. So I'm going to do the calculations. So King Crimson. All right, so it ends up coming out to a 6.5, which would be good. And I'm thinking, I think I gave the pilot a 7, and I think I gave season 1 a 7.5. Now, here's where my thoughht's at. I think that the first half, the filler stuff, is probably worse than not worse, but like about on par as season 1 and the pilot, I would say. And then when you get to the second half, I think that stuff is probably more interesting, which is why I talked about it so much more in this review, because I do like, it's just a lot more memorable than what happens in the filler episodes. Are not bad. They're filler episodes. I mentioned the time travel one. It's like my favorite episode of the season. But besides that one, the rest are kind of like forgettable. And I get the only one that actually causes like, I'm not going to say they don't have plot development, because you do have like character developments in each episode, I guess. But they don't have like, they don't feel as plots important compared to the second half of the season when you actually get to the Dark Island stuff, or at least you start the voyage to the Dark Island. So I do think that overall, probably I would give the season like I'll go like between a 7 to a 7.5. I'm going to say it was between pretty good and very good. And I'm going to be harsh. I'm just going to give it like a 7 out of 10. I'm going to say it was pretty good, but definitely, honestly, just the writing, like, issues that I have with it kind of bring it down. So I'm just going to call it a 7 out of 10. I'm going to say it is pretty good. Definitely not as good on rewatch as I remembered it being. But once again, this show, in my opinion, from what I remember, the show just continues to get better. Maybe in the next few seasons, I'll notice like some more writing issues that I just have like a bigger problem with on rewatch compared to the first time I watched it. It's still enjoyable. Don't get me wrong. I still love watching the show. This was one of my favorite shows as a child, and as an adult rewatching it, this show is still great. I love it. And so I am still enjoying myself watching these episodes once again. So yeah, overall, I would give this probably a 7 out of 10. Pretty good, I would say. And that is pretty much all there is to it. So if you have any recommendations, any shows, movies, video game stories, anime, web series, anything that you want me to review, leave it in the comments. I will maybe possibly check it out. With that said, that is pretty much all there is to it. So let's leave it at that.